You tapping in real quick, something light, nothing major, man. You know what I'm talking about? Just gonna chop it up for a couple minutes about this main event, man. It's a lot of folk out there, more so than not, that's on the Yan side of things in this main event against Figueredo. You know what I'm talking about? Now, Yan is, he's normally known for a very good movement, head movement, foot movement, utilizing the octagon, just very good mobility, just all around movement inside that octagon. You know what I'm talking about now. His last matchup back in March of this year, he suffered a torn ACL as well as a tear or injury to the meniscus or however you say that, as well as a torn groin. You know what I mean? He suffered a motherfucking tear in the groin area. You know what I mean? Now, all of these little injuries took place. He suffered all of these back in his matchup in March with Song. You know what I'm talking about? And both the doctors and the UFC thought he was going to be out at least for the rest of 2024 while those injuries healed up and he rehabbed them properly and got back into, tip top shape. You know what I'm talking about? Obviously, that's not the case. He'll be, you know, fighting in the main event. And I'm just wondering if anybody out there is that's on the Yan side of things is concerned with, the fact that his all around movement, that we're used to, is just, the way we're used to him being able to utilize the octagon and move his foot movement. Like I'm under the belief that his all around movement is still a bit compromised. He's going to be he's still a bit compromised in that department as far as his movement's concerned. You understand what I'm saying to you? And when you take that into consideration with the fact that for at least these first 13, 14 minutes, you know what I mean, maybe 11 or 12, depending on how good Figueredo's doing right now. Maybe he blows our mind and he's able to keep it going for 25. But for at least that first 11 to 12 minutes, he's going to apply extreme pressure as far as, relentlessly attempting to, get takedowns, chain takedowns together. You know what I'm talking about? The takedown attempts, the pressure that's going to put on those injuries that Jan suffered. Not only do I believe Jan's already still a bit compromised in the movement department, but the amount of pressure that's going to be applied to those joints and those limbs, while Davison Figueredo is attempting to implement his best body of work, in those first few rounds. When Figueredo starts to slow down in the later rounds, I'm not so much worried about Jan really being able to turn up, man, because I already feel like he's a bit compromised in the movement department due to that torn ACL and meniscus and groin and everything he suffered back in March. You know what I'm talking about? I believe he came back a bit too quickly. You know what I mean? Those that knee, those ailments weren't properly, rehabbed and healed and given the proper time to get back in tip-top shape. This is a main event. This is not just a main event, but it's a main event against Figueredo, who's really trying to make you know, a statement in this division, and he knows Jan is by far the a win over Jan is by far the biggest statement he could possibly make. So you gotta believe that Figueredo is in tip top shape, and he's gonna bring 110 fucking percent. You understand what I'm saying to you? And I don't believe that Jan's even in 80%. Like, we might be dealing with a 65% Peter Yan right now, as far as all around bodies of work being able to be produced based off of his mobility and all around movement still being a bit compromised because he tore that ACL and that meniscus and that groin all back in March and wasn't expected back within the 2024 year by doctors or the promotion. You understand what I'm saying to you? But he's here and he's in the main event. and he's in a highly competitive main event. I mean, Figueiredo, he comes to get the job done absolutely every fucking time. You know what I'm talking about? And he will go out on his shield trying. So the amount of pressure that he's going to be applying, boy, oh boy, I think, unfortunately for Jan, if that thing is not properly healed up, which I don't believe it is, you know what I mean? Not in tip-top shape for tip-top competition in main event UFC, this level of opposition shape, in my personal opinion, he should have took the time. Maybe he couldn't afford to take the time. Them doctor bills, you know, life, who knows why he came back, you know what I mean? Because I personally don't believe, you know, he belongs being in there in a main event against somebody as hungry as Figueiredo in this division right now with, you know, the ailments he suffered, man. I just don't believe that knee has properly healed, rehabbed, and gotten itself back in the tip-top shape that fast. You understand what I'm saying to you? He might be in a, you know, a bit of a fighting shape, but I think we're going to get like a 65%, maybe 67, somewhere between 65 and 70% of Piotr Jan. Is that enough to beat 110% of Figueiredo? You know what I'm talking about? Because I don't think Figueiredo's dealing with anything crazy right now in the camp, coming out of camp. I think he's in tip-top shape, and I think we're getting 110% of Figueiredo. And I believe on the other side, we're only getting about a 65 or a 70% for what it's worth of Piotr Jan, due to the fact that that movement is compromised and the pressure that's going to be applied to those limbs by Figueiredo, it's going to put more wear on it. Food for thought.